Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a big 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happened right here, delivering Louisiana's future. At the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Yeah, you, right, Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday edition of the program. Got a good one lined up for you. Hey, it's Mr. Drury. For the Super Bowl, the 2025 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 59. New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah, you, right? Let's do it, Crescent City and beyond. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh boy, I got these kind of indoor glasses on still. I'm just looking on the TV monitor. Right away, I'm like, oh wow. Corey's blind all of a sudden. He's got on some glasses. They're like sunglasses, but they're actually not sunglasses. I picked them up from Art and Eyes on magazine. There's kind of like light blue lenses. Maybe I got them too dark because I live on TV. I can't see my eyes. That I can't see at all. All I need is the red and white stick. Wow. Wide open Wednesday edition program. If you're listening on the radio, you're going to have to, theater the mind. Use your imagination. But if you're watching on TV or YouTube, you're like, why is Corey wearing sunglasses? Anyway, got a good one lined up for you on this wide open Wednesday edition program. A lot coming your way, including my old radio sidekick from like 25 plus years ago. No, not Russell Odie, but Curtis Amann. No, I used to do a show with, I guess my first sidekick was Black in Baton Rouge. And then when I got to New Orleans, this was talk days, Russell. And all three of those cats have gone on to do things outside of radio and television. And all three of those cats, as far as I know, Todd Black's doing pretty well. And I can vet for Russell Prodie and Curtis Amann because they're good friends of mine. Both were in my wedding, best friends of mine. They're both doing really well. And none of them live in New Orleans. Russ and Curtis, New Orleans natives, like many people, took their wives, their kids, their family, and moved elsewhere and are doing really, really well. A lot of people have done that. I've talked about New Orleans and Louisiana and in general, just stagnant for the last 40 years. 40 years, not a decade, not 12 years, 15 years, just rinse and repeat New Orleans, rinse and repeat Louisiana. Hack politicians like Edwin Edwards and Bill Jefferson and John Alario and the Heitmeyer brothers and Ray Nagin and go on and on and on. It's a joke. Mark Morial, a joke. Folks are so worried about black and white, Republican and Democrat, that you overlook these jokers, these clowns, these folks that are beneath us. I'm not trying to be snobby like I'm better than anyone. I'm speaking for all of us, citizens of New Orleans, citizens of Louisiana. Most of these politicians are pathetic. It's a clown show. It's you-know-what show. What can they get away with? What can they, steal, up friends and family from taxpayers and somehow justify it. Just so much unethical, immoral behavior going on, and then a lot of illegal, unlawful behavior going on with our politicians. It's terrible. We elect a bunch of losers, and we keep electing them over and over again because black, white, Republican, and Democrat trumps everything else. It's pretty sad and pretty pathetic. But no, it leads to stagnant growth, no growth when Texas, right next door to us, fast growing state in the country the last 30, 40 years, 50 years. The South, the fastest growing region in the country the last 30, 40, 50 years. No, we didn't miss we missed the rocket ship. We missed the rocket ship. That means a lot of Curtises and Russells, my best friends, your best friends, family, 50, 60% of young folks, 50 and under, have left Metro New Orleans, have left the state, have left the region and gone somewhere totally different. Totally different. Curtis Amann, my former sidekick from 25 plus years ago. That's right, GQ in Covington. Russell Prody, the analyst. The analyst. That was his moniker, his nickname. He was breaking it down like it's nobody's business. None of these guys are in radio, television anymore. And when we were doing sports, especially, they knew more than I did every day, all the time. Ridiculous knowledge on all sports. Anyway, 25 plus years ago, Curtis Amann, a native New Orleanian, now living in Denver, after a stop-off in D.C. after Katrina, will join us live in about 7 minutes. 11 days until Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Yeah, you're right. Bring it on. We're ready. Do this thing. It's what we do. We'll be tying Miami for 11th Super Bowl, most of any city. The Superdome will be hosting its 8th. When we hosted our 7th or 6th, it was most of any venue in Super Bowl history. We are the Super Bowl city. We're the best city for the game, arguably. Everything so compact. Everything right next door to each other. You don't even need a rental car. You don't even need to get in a car and get in traffic and go somewhere. You can walk the whole time. Convention Center, Superdome, Arena, French Quarter, CBD, Warehouse District, 28,000 plus hotel rooms, all right there. Amazing. Hey, because of the terrorist attack early New Year Day, new security measures are coming to the French Quarter for Super Bowl 59. Checkpoints, bag searches, NFL security zone, no coolers, ice chests. Basically, it's called the FQESZ. The FQESZ, French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone. The French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone. French Quarter is roughly about 85, 90 city blocks. 13 by 6, 13 by 7, depending on where it stretches out by the river on either end. About 90 blocks, let's call it. This FQES, French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone, will take up about 14 blocks. Right down Bourbon Street from Canal to St. Anne. Orleans runs right through the center of the quarter. St. Anne is half a block off Orleans towards Esplanade. So a little more than 50% of Bourbon Street. You want to call it 55% of Bourbon Street? Off Canal to St. Anne. And then the streets on either side of Bourbon, Dauphine towards Rampart and Royal towards the river. 14 square blocks. Checkpoints, bag searches if the bag's large. A new security zone. No cooler, ice chests. State police are going to be handling it. A French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone. I told you about 500, 600, 700 plus G5 or larger jets that'll be parked at Lake One Airport for this Super Bowl in a week and a half. 11 days away. There are already 2 huge yachts parked on the riverfront. The Jaguars owner, Shahid Khan, He's got a huge yacht parked right by Waldenberg Park downtown. And Arthur Blank has his huge yacht parked at the Butterfly. At the Butterfly. How cool is that? I'm just going to park my yacht at Audubon Park at the Butterfly, and there'll be a car waiting for me. Oh, we're going home for the night. Just bring us to the Butterfly. Styling, man, Arthur Blank. Now, go by the Butterfly, the Carrollton Sports Complex on the river. See the huge yacht and Khan's boat downtown. More to come. No, you're bringing the house with you. These were like in the Caribbean. They just called the captain and said, hey, Captain Jimmy, get the boat to New Orleans the week before the Super Bowl, man. Get it all stocked up. We'll be coming down on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever we feel like it. It's basically their house that floats that they can bring anywhere from the Caribbean to the New Orleans riverfront. Pretty amazing, wealthy folks, what they can do. Corey Johnson with you on a wide open Wednesday.
The Woodhouse Day Spa with 5 area locations. New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Since 1896, a true taste of New Orleans. Leidenheimer.
Want to stay somewhere special when visiting New Orleans? Look no further than the Grand Victorian. Located in the Garden District on the St. Charles Avenue streetcar line, the Grand Victorian is ideally placed for visiting the city's local attractions, fabulous restaurants, shops, and more. Make your stay in New Orleans something to remember. To find out more about the Grand Victorian or to book, go to gvb.com. The Grand Victorian.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on magazine, as unique as you.
Come experience the best smoothies in the metro area at Smoothie King. Jay and his father have been Smoothie King franchisees for decades on Jefferson Highway, across from Oxnard, on Airline Highway at LeBar by Causeway. Smoothie King.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Interlocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Interlocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Interlocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Francesca Deli and Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
Tired of cleaning your gutters? Improve the value and look of your home with Leaf Guard gutters, and you'll never have to clean your gutters again, ever. I guarantee it. Let Audubon Gutters install Leaf Guard gutters today. You'll improve the look and value of your home, and right now is the perfect time during Audubon Gutters' 99-cent installation sale. Call 469-6494 now. Get out of that gutter at Audubon Gutters.
Yeah, you right. Historic snowfall last week in New Orleans, and now we're like 70 degrees. Absolutely crazy. Let's go where the snow falls pretty often. This is my old sidekick from like 25 plus years ago. Curtis Amann, a native New Orleanian, living in Denver after a stop in D.C. post-Katrina. He's been gone from the Crescent City now for 20 years, and we cry for him. What's up, Curtis?
Corey, how are you?
Doing great,
20 years,
man.
huh? 20 years, it's hard to believe.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And you thought out there, right? I heard 70 degrees because I was worried about you guys down there. I mean, that was unreal.
I'll get aside. Talking about the snowstorm last week in New Orleans. I mean, it snowed an inch of snow an hour for 11 plus hours. It was coming down sideways. I don't want to say it was a blizzard, but I had a legitimate foot of snow in my front yard, not like 3 inches, not like a dusting, and 2 feet in my backyard just because it was like a funnel, it was the perfect roof, a fence, the wind blowing, whatever. So I looked up some stuff. Denver's worst day is like 25 inches in a day. And you guys average about 55 inches a year. Like, we got a fifth of Denver's snowfall last Tuesday in New Orleans. Am I right?
Pretty much. I mean, we get a decent amount of snow, a bunch of days where snow here, but they're not usually that heavy. I mean, maybe once or twice a year you get 10 plus inches here. And so when I saw, and I don't know, Corey, I think you could call it blizzard-like. So I saw some videos. Obviously everybody from down there sending me stuff on a day like that. And there were some videos. I got one out from Lakeshore Drive, and a blizzard might have been accurate. I mean, it was blowing sideways. It was unreal. And so I just, I was worried about you guys. No provisions. I certainly don't have the infrastructure like we have here to handle that. But I never thought I would see a foot of snow in New Orleans ever.
No, the only reason there's a snow shovel because someone's shoveling shrimp with it.
Exactly. It's more like a soup, it's more like one of those big slotted spoons that you mix in your pot with that you're using to clear out the driveway.
No, I referenced this, Curtis. I said when Drew Brees threw 7 touchdown passes against the Giants and Eli Manning of New Orleans threw 13 touchdown passes in one game, we'll never see that ever again the rest of our life. And I don't think we'll ever see 11 inches of snow in 11 hours in New Orleans ever again. I think that was just, our entire life, Curtis, in New Orleans, 3, 4, 5 times and a little dusting. Like you could go, quote, it snowed. This was like significant. And it was on the ground for like 5 days. I was like, in Vermont, what the hell's going on?
Well, that's the problem is when it sticks and then it freezes, and then for a couple of days you get the melt and the freeze. It turns into a glacier. I mean, it could be a mess. So there's no contraflow though, right? We didn't break out any radical alternatives there, right? Everything was okay.
Yeah, no contraflow. No one getting helicoptered off the roofs. It was all.
Everyone made.
Wow, so true. Curtis Amann's with us, native New Orleanian. My old sidekick in talk radio from like 25 plus years ago. Curtis, basically, Katrina hits. I tell the story. My buddy Curtis had a couple of feet of water in his house, Lakeview, and then I pause and go, on the second floor. After Katrina, I remember working in the athletic department in Tulane. Every time I'd see you, you'd have on like Arizona State, Vanderbilt, USC. All your pals in athletic departments around the country sent you clothes. You're an example, Curtis, of someone that literally lost everything except your wife and kids.
Yeah, for the most part, I think I looked like an unemployed equipment manager for a couple of years after Katrina, just wandering around whatever you could scrape together. But, in hindsight, Corey, we were lucky, right, for the most part. I mean, we took a hit like everyone else did out in Lakeview, but, people were safe, and you lose a bunch of stuff, but that's all, for the most part, replaceable. And, we were fortunate at the time, and for me, that we could relocate with not too much pain. I mean, the companies I was working for at the time allowed us to do that and kind of get out of New Orleans. And I didn't know that when we left, we'd never be back, quite honestly. But, you get out and you start to see other parts of the world, and you start to think of other places you can raise your family. And it just turned into, you look up and 20 years goes by. But I mean, there was a lot of stuff, and we took that big hit out in Lakeview. But I think, all of it. I mean, as we sit here today, I feel very fortunate, to be living where I am and have had some of the experiences that I've had. I just, it wouldn't nice to have it come at that expense, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. What, Curtis, about 8 in D.C. and now about a dozen or so in Denver?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were right. We were in Northern Virginia, outside of DC, and we came to Denver in the summer of 2012. So it'll be 13 years here this summer. And I talk about a city that has changed before my eyes. People here talk about what it was like, obviously 20, 25 years ago, when it was more of a cow town, is how they would refer to it. But just to see the growth and the development that's happened here since we've been here is mind-boggling. It's not stopping. It certainly comes with its own infrastructure questions and things like that. But it's a pretty thriving city for the most part. It's got its challenges like everywhere else, but we do know how to get the snow here. I can do that.
Basically, you moved there. There's around 2 million folks in the metro. Now there's like 3.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, everyone, the migration when COVID hit was pretty extreme. You had a lot of people that were just going out for the mountains and the weather, and while it certainly gets cold here in Denver for the most part. It's fantastic weather 10 months out of the year. I mean, January and February are brutal, like they are in any kind of cold weather town or city. And it grew and grew. And like companies that if you work remotely, this is a great place to do it. I mean, you can times in Denver where you can ski in the morning and play golf and during. So who wouldn't want to see that lifestyle?
Getting Stapleton out of the middle of the city and building that world-class airport out in the plains east of Denver. And I remember day one, folks like, it's so far. You get to the gate, it's so far to get to the terminal. Now it's just, right next door, and it's jam-packed with stuff from the gate to the terminal, hotels, restaurants, all kind of stuff. T-Rex, the light rail, expansion of interstate. Denver's just had insane explosive growth, like several markets in America. The opposite of New Orleans. Curtis, being a New Orleans native, being outside of D.C., D.C., Baltimore, one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the country. Denver, I just mentioned, nearly 3 million. What are some of the things those places do that that New Orleans doesn't do at all? You almost like rolling your eyes, like, how is that not done in New Orleans? And what are some things that you're like, boy, Alexandria, D.C., Denver, they just don't have that like New Orleans has? I miss that.
Yeah, that's a big question, Corey. But, I think, so I'll use this as an example. We were just back in Virginia for Christmas, visiting some my in-laws out there and some family, and it was just the area where we used to live. And you visited out there, so you kind of know the area that I'm talking about. And it was almost unrecognizable just in the 12 years we've been gone. So things turn over and they just continually make progress in places. It happened there. It happens in Denver, where stuff doesn't just sit forever to be preserved in its, in its old form and its old glory, which, there's certainly, there's nostalgia and there are things there that you can reminisce about, and they're fantastic. But, in places, I noticed in places like these, they know when the half-life is over or the shelf life, and they rebuild and they're turning things over. I mean, this little area close to our house now in Denver, an area called Cherry Creek, it's unrecognizable. I mean, if buildings are being torn down that are probably 10, 50 years old, so they can now kind of grow vertically in those areas. And while that's it's great on one level. On the other side, it also can be more chaotic. And I think Denver's gotten out over its skis a little bit in terms of the infrastructure not necessarily keeping up with the development. And there's going to be some pain there that you're already feeling in some areas, and there's going to be more in the next few areas because you had a mayor for a long time that just said yes to everything. Any development anywhere it was like green lighted pretty quickly, and so it's so you see that, right? And so cities like those, those Reston, Virginia, outside of DC, and then here in Denver, you just see where progress is continual. And I think one of the things that at least both of those areas have that make it a little different from New Orleans is certainly you've got real estate, you've got acreage, you've got places to expand. There's a lot of ground that isn't underwater in those places, right? And it's kind of hard to attract a lot of things to think. No offense to the West Bank, but you know what I mean? It's not the most hospitable place to build or to draw people to. And so I think those are pretty big differences. And, at the same time, I love New Orleans, right? When I go back, it's the nostalgia and just, there's a certain part of it where it's like, this is amazing. It feels a lot like it did so long ago. But at the same time, you're like, really feels a lot like it did so long ago, right? Some of the conversations are the same, and some of you are like, this is exactly what I forget what it was. One of those press conferences after the horrible New Year's Eve incident, and somebody that brought forward, I was like, how is that person still in any government role now? I felt like they were in trouble 30 years ago, and here they are again with some jacket on, and it's like, wow. So you don't do that as much in other places. There's certainly some element of that, but it's pretty different.
That's hysterical. Curtis, hang on. We're going to come right back. That's hysterical. That guy is still around. It's 25 years later. He's got on a suit. I thought he was a criminal the last time I saw him. We're coming right back. More with Curtis Amann, my former sidekick from about 25 plus years ago when I was doing sports talk. This guy knew more sports than I ever knew. Like Russell Brody, the analyst, they just knew a lot more than I did. Coming right back with Curtis Amann. Don't move, New Orleans.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex, something called Quick Lane. Tires, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We do in all makes and models. It doesn't have been purchased from us. It's for you. It handles your lifestyle with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane. You're going to love the experience right there.
Outdoor dining, Middle Eastern cuisine, Lebanon's Cafe, some of the city's finest. Carrollton at Jeanette by the streetcar barn, Lebanon Cafe.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. And moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa, Woodhouse Spa.
Want to stay somewhere special when visiting New Orleans? Look no further than the Grand Victorian. Located in the Garden District on the St. Charles Avenue streetcar line, the Grand Victorian is ideally placed for visiting the city's restaurants, shops, and more. Make your New Orleans something to remember. To find out more about the Grand Victorian or to book, go to gvbb.com. The Grand Victorian.
Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread with its crisp crust and delicate center. You know the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop. For over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Tired of cleaning your gutters? Improve the value and look of your home with Leaf Guard gutters. And you'll never have to clean your gutters again, ever. I guarantee it. Let Audubon Gutters install Leaf Guard gutters today. You'll improve the look and value. Right now is the perfect time during Audubon Gutters night installation sale. Call 469-6494 now. Get out of that gutter and get on the phone. At Audubon Gutters.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on magazine, as unique as you.
Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine of Louisiana, and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Yummy, yummy, yummy in one's tummy. I must be talking about Lebanon's Cafe. They open up at 11 a.m. They stay open straight through the day till 9:30 every night, 7 days a week. Carrollton at Jeanette by the streetcar barn. Lamb, all your favorite Middle Eastern sides, Lebanon's Cafe. Convenient to Uptown, Mid-City, Tulane, Loyola University section, as my grandmother used to call that area. And you folks that live like in Old Jefferson, Old Metairie even, you get to Causeway and River Road, you're less than 5 minutes from Lebanon's Cafe. Lebanon's Cafe, get there tonight. Outdoor dining at Lebanon's. Tonight's a great night for outdoor dining. Perfect weather, like 65 tonight. Hey, Curtis Amann's with us live from Denver, native New Orleanian. He was my sidekick when we did Sports Talk Radio about 25 plus years ago. Curtis, I mean, it was at least 25 plus years ago, like late 1990s, right?
Yeah, I think it was even, mid-90s. Yeah. It was probably 94, 95.
30 years ago.
Right, 30 years ago, yeah. I mean, we're talking the Willie Roaf draft pick. I think he was the first-round pick when we were there, and Jim Everett as a quarterback. I mean, the tail end of Coach Mora, who's, provided endless comic comedy for you and I, at least in watching that work. But yeah, it's been a minute. I mean, 30 years. It's hard to believe.
Greatest story. Curtis and I
think I know where you're going.
I know, we're covering Saints training camp. And Curtis went there like 3 weeks. I was up there like a month. It was ridiculous. I mean, we called this thing called the Low-C Loop because this was called Low-C, and we'd be so bored, we'd just get in the rental car and drive around in a circle, bored out of our minds, because you're there forever, eating at the same restaurants, all this stuff. So anyway, we're coming back one night from eating, and nothing was supposed to be going on, and there's activity, and I think, Morton Anderson was getting cut and going to the Falcons or something like that?
It was Ricky Jackson.
Okay.
Decided not to resign Ricky Jackson, yep.
And so they had Jim Morris having a press conference, like 5 minutes. We're like, what? So we beeline over there, and Mora literally, Curtis and I walk in with the tape recorder, cassette player back then, and the mic, and Mora folds his little note and starts walking out, And I'm like, holy smokes. And it's like, I got to get this story, I go to, I don't know, was it Rusty Kazmier's back then? Was that the media guy?
It was. It absolutely was.
I think it was pre-Greg Bensel. I'm like, Rusty, you just popped this on us out of nowhere. I got to get this on. I got to have some audio. So he goes and gets Mora, and Curtis and I knock out a little quick Mora interview in the hallway, and he doesn't have his little note that he's read off and didn't even answer any questions. So he's kind of stumbling, bumbling through it. He kind of irritated a little bit, huh, Curtis?
Oh, he was completely rattled. I mean, he didn't want to do it, and then he kind of popped into that, all right, fine, Corey, here you go. And he gave up this quick little statement, and the part was, as that's going on, right, the rest of the media is funneling into that hallway where we had him. So he's starting to get a little rattled. People are wondering if we're getting some good scoop, right? And I can remember where it was John DeShazer was there, Brian Alley Walsh, those guys, Mike Strom, and so he finished, he looked up, and then Corey, you can play by it, right? Where did he go?
It's not, I mean, Curtis and I are standing there. This is, I think it was like Laux Hall. It was like a dorm on the University of Wisconsin at La Crosse campus. And it was our dorm, like for the media. Mora was staying in, Mora and the coaches were in another dorm, right? Oh, no. Mora and the coaches were like on another floor of that building.
Exactly, yeah.
So Curtis and I were on our floor, like our rooms are on that floor. We know that floor from just being there a week or two. Mora ends the interview and beelines down the hallway right away. And Curtis and I just both look at each other like, that isn't the way out.
Where's he going?
And then he's like, where's this guy going? We're like, oh, no. And then Mora goes straight for this end door and opens it. And Curtis and I know it's the janitor's closet. It's got like the yellow bucket with the mop on, with the wheels on the bucket. And Mora opens it, like tries to walk in, realizes it's not like the steps, and just slams the door and then looks at Curtis and I like, how the hell do I get out of here? Like we're the authority of the building. And thank God we did know. We're like, right here are the steps, coach. We're like, geez.
The door with exit over it, coach. Just follow that one. You'll get right out.
But I mean, it was like a pee in your pants funny moment because like, oh my God, he's going down the hall the wrong way. Oh my God, he's going for the janitor's closet.
He's in the janitor's closet.
Wow.
At least he committed, right?
Oh yeah, he committed. It was scary. It was scary. Curtis, before we move on, kind of looking back on what we were just discussing, I guess the simple things, coming back to New Orleans, quaint city, easy to get around, memorable, where you grew up, get a cup of gumbo, get a nice roast beef po' boy. Boy, people are friendly and nice, and then you got to go back home. But I guess those are the positives when you come. You're like, boy, what a unique place.
No doubt about it. I mean, and home is always home. And so there's just it's a comfortable feeling I get when I go back to New Orleans. And it's like you said, Corey, you're doing a commercial for Lebanon Cafe, right? I mean, I love that those places are still there and that you can still, make that old loop and hit the old haunts and see all your old friends. I mean, there's, New Orleans is an easy place to pick on, right? I mean, if you're from the outside looking in, especially even when you live there, because you have experienced some of the lunacy that's involved in the way it's operated and managed. But there is a uniqueness to that town that I will always love. It will always draw me back there. But at the same time, you stop and go, with the exception of having to take that ridiculous shuttle bus back to the rental car facility, I'm really usually glad to get back home because there is that process. So don't get me started on that. But it's New Orleans is what it is, and there's a place for that for sure. But it could use some advancement in a lot of ways, and I that more than anybody, Corey. But there's also the reason why people stay there forever, right? And why a lot of people just never leave, because it is all those qualities that we mentioned.
Well, last question, and it's tougher than the other one. It's a why question. We have all this great culture. It's just such a great place to live. We are fantastic at festivals and parties and events and Super Bowl coming up. From 5:01 Friday till 8:59 Monday morning, we're the world champions. But we suck 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I mean, we suck at it. We're like as bad as anywhere. Louisiana as a state, New Orleans as a city in the country. Curtis, I'm harsh. I'm like a lot, LSU Law School. First day, they say, look to your left, look to your right. Someone won't be there next semester. I say, Louisiana, look to your left, look to your right. That one of those people's a loser. One of those people second rate. One of those people just accepts mediocrity. One of those people doesn't want to win. So why is New Orleans and Louisiana? Like, I get critical and I get mad. Why don't we function the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 stuff like Denver, or DC, or Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, Austin? You want me to keep going? It's obnoxious.
Yeah, it is, and I mean there's so many layers to that question, right? But I think part of it is New Orleans never grew up when it came to business and to attracting business, right? It was always more people with their hands out, or politicians, different decision makers are trying to line their own pockets as opposed to looking at the future of the city. And it never was able, outside of, and I don't know if this is an entirely accurate statement, Corey, but it seems to me like so many of the people that their longest time, they're either you got doctors, you got lawyers, you got people in the hospitality industry, and you've got just your family roots or small businesses that have been there forever. And so that keeps a certain percentage of the population there ever. But in order to grow, you have to attract a different set of population, a different set of people. And there was the opportunity after Katrina, right? And everybody was lined up to come be a do-gooder in New Orleans, and they wanted to give the city a chance. And it just never evolved. It never evolved. It was never able to bring in that next level of opportunity for people that wanted something different, and maybe wanted something a little more. So I think it's kind of cut its nose off despite its face over the years. And it's, some people might argue that that's what makes New Orleans great, the fact that it is so quaint. But, at the same time, I mean, you look how hard it is to do anything down there, to build a building, to rehab a building, to do anything. It makes advancement sometimes seem impossible. And I think that just for a lot of the rest of the world, that's not how they want to operate.
Hey, Curtis, from a Denver perspective, outside the city, the terrorist attack. I mean, right away, some media members are pointing the finger at the city. Right away, some politicians are playing politics. The local lawyers suing the city. I'm like, this could have happened anywhere, anytime, any place. I'm not saying New Orleans isn't dysfunctional, but I think most people are like, could have been in my town. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, and isn't that the whole purpose of like a terrorist attack, is that, that it could happen anywhere at any time, and they want to strike fear that way? So, yeah, I mean, that could have very easily have been the 16th Street Mall in Denver, or, up on Pearl Street in Boulder. I mean, it could have happened anywhere. And sure, right, what hindsight's 2020, it's easy to pick on what didn't happen. But I don't think you can. I don't think the blame for that should be laid at the feet of New Orleans as a city by any means. It's just a horrible situation, and what are you going to do, right? I mean, it absolutely could have happened anywhere.
Hey, Curtis, I'm going to knock out one more quick break. You ready to get back to our roots from 30 plus years ago and talk some sports?
I thought you'd never ask, Corey. Yes, I'm ready.
Saints coaching search. Think about that. I know you love the NBA. I'm passionate about it. We'll talk some Pels and throw in a little Tulane, LSU, whatever else you like. Super Bowl. Curtis Amann's with us, my sidekick from 30 plus years ago in talk radio. He's in Denver now. We're going to come right back and talk a little sports, because that's what we used to do for years and years and years. And like I said, going into that last break, Curtis is insanely knowledgeable about sports. Don't move, New Orleans. We are coming right back.
Hey, New Orleans, if you've ever wanted to experience life on St. Charles Avenue, now is your chance. The Grand Victorian, the ultimate bed and breakfast in the Garden District on the streetcar line. Built in 1893, this magnificent house will make your special weekend getaway special. To find out more, go to gvbb.com. That's gvbb.com. The Grand Victorian, where the locals go to get away.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, it's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
For over 120 years, New Orleans' very own Leidenheimer French bread. My Sittu, that's Arabic for grandmother, used to make the best football kibbe. You can experience kibbe just like my grandmother used to make, and so many other Middle Eastern favorites on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe. The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has
goods we use each and every day by river, rail, by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof. Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. Our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence and drive generational change. Join now, nolacoalition.info.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809 at insagency.com. Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miet, insagency.com.
And now Mandeville, a day of relaxation. Bar, woodhousebars.com.
Yeah, you right. Corey Johnson back at you on a Wednesday afternoon, wide open Wednesday. Hey, you know, back in October, Audubon Gutters installed gutters on my house. They're the Gulf South's largest, most experienced gutter installation company. They're Audubon Gutters, and all they do are gutters. They don't paint, they don't do roofs, they don't do siding, they don't do windows. All they do are gutters. I got the gutters installed with that leaf guard system. Got that big oak tree in front of the house. I'll never, ever have to hire someone to clean my gutters again. Why would you consider going with anyone else for your home or business? Audubon Gutters. Check them out online, audubongutters.com. Curtis Amon's with me, my old sidekick from Sports Talk time, like 30 plus years ago, mid-90s, covering the Saints and losing LSU and losing Tulane. Curtis, how cool has the green wave been the last few years, especially for you? You were in the athletic department at Tulane. You knew what the potential could be, just that they put some effort into it. When you were there, man, it was the opposite of effort. They were like going the opposite direction. But now, man, they're pretty formidable in football. John Summerall's done a great job after Willie Fritz.
I was thrilled to see that this year, Corey. I mean, especially sustaining what Willie Fritz had built up over the last few years, because, you know, historically for Tulane, like when I was there, Tommy Bowden was there. It was the perfect season. Liberty Bowl win, Sean King and those guys, right? And then Chris Delfo comes along, which was the wrong hire. And next thing you know, you're in a 30-year drought. So, you know, the fact that Tulane was able to make the right hire this time, and look, even if it's a stepping stone for Summerall, I mean, if if you're keeping some level of success going, that just shows that the program there has grown and it's matured and it's something that is sustainable. And so, yeah, I mean, like I got 2 degrees from Tulane and I work there. And so when I see the Green Wave succeed, it makes me happy. But I will forever be puzzled by the inability to have basketball success there over the long haul. I mean, it's, when I was there, Corey, people loved trash Perry Clark, and they couldn't, he was underachieving. He was like, Perry Clark did a masterful job when he was at Tulane, and they haven't sniffed the NCAA tournament since he's been there. So, he was an interesting cat, but, he knew how to win uptown in New Orleans, and it just defies my logic that they can't put 500 people in that building and can't get a program that can sustain some level of reasonable success.
No, arguably basketball is the easiest sport to
Sure.
to be successful. I'm not saying go to the Final Four, but to get to the NCAA tournament. You see all these small schools do it every year, year in, year out. And all you need is about 10, 12 cats and a guy that can bring them in. So, yeah, there's really no excuse for it, especially when you're Tulane, Curtis.
Well, yeah. I mean, you should be able to draw in a city like New Orleans. I mean, there's enough kids that play good basketball in that town, but they've never been able to lay down real recruiting roots there that have been sustainable. And, unfortunately, I mean, with the way college athletics and the landscape have changed here in the last couple of years, it's going to become harder and harder for programs like Tulane to even be a blip on the radar. I mean, the money involved now and the way it's run is just completely different. I hate it. I think I don't like anything about it, but at the same time, it is what it is. I don't know if you call it progress. You can certainly call it advancement. But, it's going to be – I don't know how programs like that are going to really survive in the long haul, but that's a much bigger conversation.
I know you're not going to get Anthony Davis-type return from a Zion Williamson trade, but I think if you find the right team, you can get a really good return, like a starter or two, a first-round pick or two. Shouldn't the Pelicans be 86 in Zion Williamson before the trade deadline?
I mean, certainly if they have a willing partner, in my eyes. I mean, I put Zion Williamson's, he's not as disappointing as Ben Simmons in the NBA, but he's close in my eyes. I mean, you can't look all that potential and all that was years ago, Corey. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be on the court, you got to produce. And he has not been able to sustain that. I don't know if it's just, his body or whether it's his will or whatever it may be, but it's been a wildly disappointing thing. At least out of Anthony Davis, you got some legs, right? You get some mileage. You had a little playoff run. I mean, the guy, he produced for being the number one pick. Yep. And Zion Williamson has not done that.
No, I think they got to cut ties already. But I, from what I understand, they're not gonna. Brandon Ingram's a bigger trade possibility than Zion Williamson, and I don't get it. Go if you had another comment before we went into the Saints coaching search.
Oh no, Corey, I think that says it all. I mean, look, whatever you can get for either one of them at this point, I think you do, because there are models out there right now that show you can be bad in the NBA and grow young talent. Look at the Rockets right now. Look at the Spurs right now, and you can get better. Stockpile some draft picks. That's the right route for them to go.
What's this Saints coaching search look like from Denver?
Depressing. I mean, look, it's an unattractive job, right? I mean, certainly that's how it appears. And I know, they may get lucky and land Kellen Moore. I don't know that I'm really convinced of that at this point. But I think it's time to burn it down, Corey. I mean, it's time to take the hits from the salary cap and let that bleed out. The next 3 years need to be miserable to get better. And this false notion of like, oh, we're right on the doorstep. We're right. I mean, they're not, and they haven't really been for a long time. And 2009 was a long time ago. It was. I mean, people hope Mickey Loomis isn't still using the BlackBerry, because I think that's what was happening in 2009. And it is not. It's just you got to wake up, right? You got to. The fact that multiple people are saying no, that's bad career advancement for me to take a head coaching job in the NFL. What more do you need to know?
That's hysterical.
It's not pretty. It is not pretty.
The BlackBerry. Curtis, about 20 seconds. Denver liking Sean Payton?
Oh, they're thrilled. I mean, everyone here couldn't be happier, playoff loss or not. I mean, they're ahead of schedule. You got to admit that. And, for all this, the flack he took for picking Bo Nix, he sure looks pretty smart right now. So I think people are quite happy.
Bo Nix is incredible. It's mind-blowing. I remember him at Auburn. I'm like, another serviceable Auburn quarterback. And he goes to Oregon. Okay, I was wrong. Curtis, a pleasure, man. Love getting with you again. Let's do this soon. Again.
I love you, Corey. Great old memories, man. I appreciate you having me on. Good time.
No, my pleasure. That's Curtis Amann, native New Orleanian, now living in Denver. My old sidekick, my co-host, Curtis and I, like 30 plus years ago, doing sports talk. 5 o'clock power hour next.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
It's 5 p.m.
For game-changing innovation of companies located in Harahan, Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralox is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you will be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, 455-60809. Dave Miet, INSagency.com. Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miet, INSagency.com.
The NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at NOLAcoalition.com.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Want to stay somewhere special when visiting New Orleans? Look no further than the Grand Victorian. Located in the Garden District on the St. Charles Avenue streetcar line, the Grand Victorian is ideally placed for visiting the city's local attractions, fabulous restaurants, shops, and more. Victorian.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family owned and operated. Bread.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes are magazine, as unique as you.
Ford F-150, #1 seller in America. What about in the USA? Let's see, what about in the world? Who sells more trucks than Ford? Because the Lamar team is the real team. All that. Everybody having a great experience at Lamar Ford. We became #1 for a reason, because we're good. And we need to prove it every day, every deal, all the time.
Tired of cleaning your gutters? Improve the value and look of your home with Leaf Guard gutters. And you'll never have to clean your gutters again, ever. I guarantee it. Let Audubon Gutters install Leaf Guard gutters today. You'll love the look and value of your home. And right now is the perfect time during Audubon Gutters' 99-cent installation sale. Call 469-6494 now. Have that gutter and get on the phone. At Audubon Gutters.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville, the Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. It is indeed New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you. Already midweek. Already the end of January. Halloween was like 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? I remember going to Thanksgiving lunch with my mom. I thought that was about 2 weeks ago. Wasn't Christmas just a few days ago? New Year? Jeez. 29th of January. Crazy. Time's been flying by lately. At least it feels that way. Thanks so much for joining us on this wide open Wednesday edition of the program, 5 o'clock Power Hour. If you missed the 4 o'clock hour, reminiscing with a super knowledgeable guy that really is smart and follows kind of the world, knows what's going on, has a good, got the pulse of what's happening down, and loves sports, loves New Orleans, but doesn't live here anymore. So I was like, boy, what a good guest to get on. Get Curtis Amann on. We used to do sports talk together like 30 years ago. And we talked a little. I had him on for 3 segments. The final segment, we talked a little sports, and he had great insight, great takes on Tulane and Pelicans and Saints, all of that. Coaching search, Peyton in Denver, where he lives now. Curtis lives in Denver, so getting the Sean Payton take, all of that. But the first 2 segments, we were talking about New Orleans and what's Denver got that New Orleans doesn't. And what he lived in D.C. for a while. It's D.C. got that New Orleans doesn't. Why, is just New Orleans dysfunctional and broken? And the macro statement he gave was pretty smart and obvious, but not said enough. People say it, but they don't really take it to heart. And come election time, you can't help yourself. You keep voting for the jokers. You're broken. What can I say? 40 years of stagnation in Louisiana and New Orleans, and Republicans and Democrats, black and white folks, keep voting for the same folks based off of Republican and Democrat and black and white. It's mind-blowing. And you're convinced you're right. And we keep failing. So you're doing something wrong. Get off the political kick. Get off the race kick. Start voting for people that are civic-minded, that aren't out to help themselves. They don't have some warped ego trying to set up friends and family. You haven't had enough of these folks? No, and it's funny. I'll rattle off the list. And I'll throw out the obvious ones like Edwin Edwards, Bill Jefferson, the Hilario, the Heitmeyer brothers, Nagin, Mark Morial. And then some people start getting mad. Some black folks, white folks start getting mad if I mention some Cajun folks. Oh, Edwin Edwards. All right, first off, let's get something clear. I've said this before on the show, and it is a fact, not an opinion. A fact, not an opinion. I'm 25% Cajun. On my dad's mom's side. She's Cajun French, 100%. So I'm 25% Cajun French. That's 25% more than Edwin Edwards is. Edwin Edwards has zero Cajun flowing through his veins. Zero. He may act Cajun. He was born in a Cajun community. He has a Cajun accent. He's a Louisiana boy, no doubt. And he was born here. But his mother is from Canadian France and not Cajun Canada. And Edwin Edwards' father's from Kentucky, not even a Louisiana native. He has zero Cajun blood in his system. But I mentioned Edwin Edwards, and a lot of folks get mad. They get upset. South Louisiana folks, he's a good man, like lived vicariously through Edwin Edwards and his shenanigans. 4-term governor. And the state just went in the crapper under his lack of leadership. And then a lot of black folks get upset about Mark Morial like he was some hero. And I understand the black community doesn't have a lot of heroes. I get it. Yet white racist folks keeping black folks down for hundreds of years, even as still today, and even as recently in an overt way, just a few short decades ago. I mean, it's sad when it's like the 70s and 80s when first black elected to this, first black elected to that. And that was in the 70s and the 80s, not like in the 40s or 50s. No, couldn't run back then. A lot of folks couldn't vote or were restricted from voting, ridiculous voting rules and laws, stopping people that were black from voting. Now, I get it. I have empathy and understanding. I'm a native New Orleanian that's pretty fair and objective and open-minded and have empathy and can see things outside the bubble. I love the New Orleans black community. I love the New Orleans Italian, Jewish, Asian community. I love New Orleans. It's a gumbo. My God, without the black community, New Orleans wouldn't cease to exist. And everything you love about New Orleans isn't because of black folks, but black folks are maybe the number one contributor to New Orleans culture. Out of any group, black folks are arguably number one in culture in New Orleans. So no, I embrace the black community, but the black community will embrace Mark Morial because he's black, and they want, in Louisiana, black and white, we believe what we want to believe. We believe what we hope is true, not what is. And Mark Morial's administration was probably the most politically corrupt mayoral administration in New Orleans history. I mean, it's easier to come up with a list of who didn't get indicted or go to jail in his higher up circle. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the feds told Mark Morial, we're coming after you or get out of the city. You and your brother Jacques, no more influencing elections, no more bold life, soul coup, whatever group y'all were part of. Get out of Dodge. He got out of Dodge. He's in New York. Mark Morial's been MIA for 20 plus years. Barely comes down to New Orleans. I mean, once every 5 years, you'll see him saying something about New Orleans through the Urban League or something, but never mentions never mentions who to vote for, never been called on endorsing anyone. I don't think the Fed said, we're coming after you or get out of New Orleans politics, get out of the city. And your brother Jacques, he can stay or leave, but he's neutered, he's spayed, he doesn't get to do anything. No more political stuff with him. No, I mean, they've been MIA. I don't like that. I don't want to beat up on Mark. I know Mark. If I see Mark, I mean, I'll shake his hand and say hello to him. He might be like, dude, I've heard what you've said about me for the last 20 years. I mean, it's like, I don't know, any of it not true? The best stuff Mark Morial did, the number 1 and 2 things Mark Morial did, and they were because there was no money to be made and he was forced to get out of the way, or at least he figured I better get out of the way. One was Chief Pennington. The feds and the consent decree back then, the feds were footing the bill for the consent decree. That was Clinton era. There was a surplus. The feds were paying for the consent decree. The feds told Mark Morial, you're not hiring from within. We're bringing our number 2 guy from D.C., this guy, an outsider. He's going to run the department. And then the other thing Mark Morial did, got out of the way and let the business community, Bill Hines, Jay Cicero from the Sports Foundation, people like that, Doug Thornton from the Dome, go get us an NBA team. I'm getting out of the way. Because Mark knew, Mark, his pals, there's no money to be made. You're not going to fool David Stern, the then NBA commissioner. So no, he got out of the way and did what he's supposed to do. He did what all the politicians are supposed to do. Edwin Edwards, Mark Morial, John Hilario, supposed to hold the door open for the business community. Supposed to valet park the car for the business community. Supposed to make it easy for the business community in America, capitalism in New Orleans, Louisiana, to run and thrive and do what they do. And have the city blow up economy-wise and have college graduates flock here. But instead, it's politics first, business second. And that's a problem in Louisiana, in New Orleans. No, Curtis said it so well, just the old Walt Disney thing. Man, I come to Louisiana, I want to build Walt Disney World. All I get from Louisiana politicians, what are you going to give me? I go to Florida and propose Disney World, and they're saying, what can we get for you, Walt? So Louisiana's always going to want something from me. Florida's always going to give something to me. Where do I go? So it was easy for him to go to this Orange Grove town of Orlando, which now has about 1 million more people than Metro New Orleans, more than that. It's about twice the Metro. We got like 1.2 million. Orlando's got about 2.5 million, twice our size, from like 25% of our size like 30, 40 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So no, it's a total game changer. Hard to conceive if Walt Disney World would be on the North Shore right now and what Metro New Orleans would be like. Hard to imagine. We'll have to say that for a Fantasy Friday edition of the program. Speaking of, that's when Michael Heck joins us. Super Bowl 11 days out. That segment every Friday with Michael Heck from Greater New Orleans, Inc., always brought to you by Latrim, the global manufacturing giant. They're in Elmwood. They're on the North Shore off I-12, a culture of innovation, and they're looking for you. Yeah, a job, a career. They're looking for you at Latrim. For a full listing of positions available, go to their website, latrim.com. Latrim spelled L-A-I-T-R-A-M, latrim.com for a full listing of positions available. Corey Johnson with you. The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Have you magazine? There's no better sports bar restaurant in the entire city. Tracy's is inside of a 100-year-old building with literally dozens and dozens of flat screen TVs, including a 120-inch monster. Tracy's has everything you're looking for in a sports bar, including arguably the best roast beef po' boy in town. Make it Tracy's on Magazine at Pleasant in Washington and Louisiana. Legendary Tracy's in the Garden District.
Total maintenance keeps you cool. Total maintenance keeps you cool. Total maintenance keeps you cool. TM-AC.com, your cool spots. Total maintenance keeps you cool. TM-AC.com, cool spots.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Area at Smoothie King. Jay and his father these for decades on Jefferson Highway across from Oxnard, on Airline Highway at LeVar by Causeway. Smoothie King.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family owned and operated, Leidenheimer French bread.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex is something called Quick Lane. Tires, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We do in all makes and models. It doesn't have to have been purchased from us. It's for you with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane, you got to come see it. You're going to love the experience right there at Williams Boulevard in Kenner.
In New Orleans, we
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. Better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love, more. When you do something, you have to do it right. It's all about more, and it's all more of the good things.
Get more at Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City. Greater New Orleans, a destination for learning with 13 booming job market. Greater New Orleans is the ultimate education. Your path to the future begins in Greater New Orleans. Find out more at studynola.com.
Hey, all Smoothie Kings are not alike. Franchise owned. Jay and his dad own a couple of Smoothie Kings, Jefferson Highway across from Oshner. That's where you'll catch me all the time, every day. They also own the Old Metairie Smoothie King, Airline at LaBar by Causeway. Yeah, it's Jay and his dad because not all Smoothie Kings are the same. Far from it. Experience the best. Blending them right for you. Smoothie King, Jefferson Highway across from Oshner, and Smoothie King, Old Metairie, Airline at LaBar by Causeway. They're open late over there, by the way. The Old Metairie location, like 8, 9 at night. Wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Corey Johnson with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Checking us out on the radio. Oh, so fine, 93.9 FM. We're on TV till 5:30 statewide. Cox Channel 4, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette. Spectrum Channel 333, Slidell, Covington, Mandeville, Hammond, Houma, Thibodaux, Opelousas. You can check us out on YouTube, our YouTube channel, The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson, live on YouTube, and after the fact, the YouTube podcast. 11 days until New Orleans do best. 11 days until Super Bowl 59 at the Superdome. Yeah, you right. $700, $800, $900 million economic impact expected. I'll tell you this. If Detroit and Buffalo were the 2 Super Bowl teams in New Orleans, there'd be $100 million more spent. $100 million more if it were Detroit and Buffalo. Buffalo hadn't been to a Super Bowl in 25 years. Detroit hadn't been to an NFL championship game since the 50s. This is a repeat of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Kansas City's been to what? I know 7 straight AFC title games. I want to say Kansas City has been to, this is like their 5th straight Super Bowl. Is that right? No. 4 of the last 5. 1 year they lost in the AFC title game, but 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls are Kansas City. So their fans are rabid. They're going to travel well, but they're not going to travel like it's a first-time thing. Some folks are going to be like, Artie went to a couple of Super Bowls for Kansas City. They're so good. Mahomes is so young. There'll be future Super Bowls. Hey, let's plan on next year, the year after. It's in so-and-so. But they'll bring some fans. I just don't think as many, obviously, as like Detroit Buffalo would, because it's a little bit of a rinse and repeat for these Kansas City fans. And things are expensive. And then you look at the Philadelphia fans. A lot of them are going to travel. They're just like Kansas City. I mean, these fan bases are like Saints or Green Bay, fanatical, the best in the NFL. You know what I mean? Talk about Philly fans. You talk about KC fans at Arrowhead, top 5, top half dozen venues and fan bases in the NFL, no doubt. But again, a rinse and repeat. Some Philly fans are going to be like, I went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. A lot of them are going to come down here. That's a big plus. Kansas City and Philly, cold. Let's get away from it all. Get down to New Orleans. New Orleans isn't like going to Phoenix, you know? I'm not saying Phoenix is bad. I'd be in Scottsdale. I'd be playing golf. I'd be hitting great restaurants. I'd make the most of the trip. Never been out by I shouldn't say I've never been to the desert, but haven't been to the desert much, so would enjoy that. But it's not like, man, Phoenix is some, place that I want to go compared to New Orleans. I think if you're anywhere in the United States of America, when it's like tourist places, it's New Orleans, it's Miami, it's New York, it's Las Vegas, it's LA. And those are the big places. And then there are other places. I'm not saying people don't go to Chicago and don't go to Seattle or Denver or whatever, but when it's, tourist places where you want to go, people don't give a crap about going to Houston or Dallas or Atlanta. No one's going, oh, wow, let's go to Atlanta for 5 days. What a great vacation. The opposite. You don't want to be stuck in Atlanta for 5 days or Houston or Dallas. I'm not saying those are bad places. I'm just saying they're not tourist destinations. They're not. Boy, what a great culturally rich environment Houston, Dallas, and Atlanta have. 11 days until Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. No, I think a lot of KC fans and Philly fans are going to come. The game's sold out, obviously. It's the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be as many as if it were Detroit and Buffalo, say. And I don't think you got folks that are in these fan bases that come to the Super Bowl town and they're not going to the game. I don't think you're going to have much of that at all. Kansas City or Philly fans coming down here that don't have a ticket to the game. Detroit, Buffalo fans, they would have come down here with no ticket to the game, just to be in the city, at the bar, with like-minded fans when the Super Bowl's going down, and ideally enjoy the, party on Bourbon Street after the victory. Speaking of the Super Bowl, speaking of the French Quarter, speaking of Bourbon Street, new security measures are coming to the French Quarter for Super Bowl 59. A French Quarter enhanced security zone. ESZ. FQES, French Quarter enhanced security zone. Basically 14 blocks of the French Quarter. French Quarter is about 85, 90 blocks total. This will be Canal Street down Bourbon to St. Anne. St. Anne runs about a half block past Orleans. Orleans runs right through the center of the quarter. In between, St. Anne and St. Philip? St. Anne is on the Esplanade side of Orleans. So a little bit more than halfway down Bourbon to Esplanade, a little bit more than halfway. So Canal Street to St. Anne, a little bit more than halfway down Bourbon. And then the streets on either side of Bourbon, like Dauphine towards Rampart and Royal Street towards the river. So it's essentially, just think Bourbon, and then you've got Dauphine a block over, and that's the border. Royal a block over, that's the border. So it's 3 streets, but it's really 2 blocks. Bourbon Street's running down the middle, or 2 sets of blocks, if you know what I'm saying. 7 on one side from Canal to St. Anne, and 7 blocks on the other side of Bourbon from Canal and St. Anne, with Dauphine and Royal as the borders. That's going to be this FQESZ, this French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone. Checkpoints every way in and out, every street corner in and out of those 14 blocks, there'll be checkpoints. There'll be bag searches if your bag is of any size, like bigger than like a cell phone, essentially, an iPhone. No coolers, no ice chests in this new security zone. French Quarter Enhanced Security Zone. The state police are going to handle the enforcement of this 14 blocks in the French Quarter. No, tightening things up for Super Bowl 59. Speaking of Super Bowl 59, mega yachts are showing up in the city. I told you about Lakefront Airport. In like a week, the big jets like Gulfstream 5, G5 and larger will be landing at Lakefront Airport. 5, 6, 7, 800 of them. Not rich folks, wealthy folks. Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. Billionaires, decision makers. Right now, some mega yachts are showing up in the city. I mean, to be wealthy. Basically, the mega yacht, they don't give a crap about cruising in it. It is a house for them, their personal house with their personal stuff, their toothbrush, their toothpaste, their socks, their underwear, their clothes, their robe, their sheets, their food. It's their house that floats. A second, third, fifth, 100th house of theirs that floats. Arthur Blank, the Falcons owner, his mega yacht, hundreds of millions of dollars, parked at the Butterfly, the riverfront uptown behind Audubon Zoo. The Butterfly, the Carrollton, sports teams where the Carrollton, boosters have their teams play, baseball, softball, soccer, that kind of stuff. The Butterfly, right on the riverfront. Arthur Blank's mega yacht is parked at the Butterfly. I mean, can you imagine what Arthur Blank? First off, it was in the Caribbean. So Arthur Blank's people call the captain down there, hey, Jimmy, get the boat to New Orleans. You're going to navigate up the Mississippi River, and you're going to park it. Here's the latitude, longitude. Here's the GPS, which is the Butterfly by Audubon Park in uptown New Orleans. Fantastic location. Fantastic. Arthur Blank's going to fly in on his private jet at Lakefront Airport. There'll be like a limousine waiting for him. He'll jump in that. The driver will drive him uptown to the Butterfly, where the driver will park the Bentley in one of the parking spots, and Arthur Blank will go get on his boat. I guess they'll have a gangplank from the boat that'll, 20, 30 feet aluminum gangplank. They'll lower onto the Batcher by the Butterfly. And he'll go to his boat, his house for the night. He'll probably arrive, I don't know, next week. Stay for a few days in the city. Boy, he's minutes away from like Clancy's in Uptown. Like could almost walk to Clancy's from where he is. A Petite Grocery on Magazine. Patois is right next to Clancy's, a block away. There's some of the best dining in the world. Brightson's right there. Practically could walk from the Butterfly right down River Road. I mean, that's 4 restaurants right there that are just lights out. Is good. I'd put them in my top 10 right there in New Orleans. Brightson's, Clancy's, Patois, and Le Petit Grocery. Lillette right down the street. I enjoyed lunch today at Lillette with my mommy.
Total maintenance keeps you cool. TM-AC.com. Your cool spot. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a big 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 545560809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 545560809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated and exactly the right frames. Art and
moves Louisiana and our country forward for more than 125 years. Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latram.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Come experience the best smoothies in the metro area at Smoothie King. Jay and his father have been Smoothie King franchisees for decades on Jefferson Highway across from Oxnard, on Airline Highway at LeBar by Causeway. Hey, New Orleans, if you've ever wanted Charles Avenue, now is your chance. The Grand Victoria, the ultimate bed and breakfast in the Garden District on the streetcar line. Built in 1893, this magnificent house will make your special weekend getaway special. To find out more, go to gvbb.com. That's gvbb.com. Grand Victorian, where the locals go to.
Have you been to the new Tracy's on Magazine? There's our restaurant in the entire city. Tracy's is inside a 100-year-old building with literally dozens and dozens of flat-screen TVs, including a 120-inch monster. Tracy's has everything you're looking for in a sports bar, including boy in town. When it's time to check out your favorite teams, make it Tracy's on Magazine at Pleasant, in between Washington and Louisiana. Legendary Tracy's in the Garden District.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex, there's something called Quick Lane. Tires, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We're doing all makes and models. It doesn't have to have been purchased from us. It's for you. It handles your lifestyle with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane, you got to come see it. You're going to love the experience right there at Williams Boulevard in Kenner.
Boy, 39 years ago, the Challenger exploded 39 years ago. For any of you out there that were old enough to remember that, I mean, I guess you got to be 45, 50 plus to really remember that. Now, I can tell you this much. I mean, I haven't looked this up, but I just know it as a fact. It happened either on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, and it happened a little bit 10:30 in the morning Central Time, 9:30, a little after 9:30 Eastern Time. And the reason I know this is because I was in Hatcher Dorm at LSU, and I just happened to be going to my 10:30 class right across the street from Hatcher Dorm in Lockett Hall, like across the street 50 yards down. So I could go from my dorm room, shutting the door, lock it, classroom and lock it in about 3 or 4 minutes tops, walking slow, like 3 minutes, right there, right across the street, 2 minutes. So these 10:30 classes, they didn't start at 10:30 at LSU. They started, I think, like 10:38. But it said on the schedule 10:30, but they started like at 10:38. So I would walk out of the dorm around 10:30. And I was walking downstairs, and they were like, the Challenger's about to launch. They had a TV down on the first floor at Hatcher Dorm. And I had my knapsack on my right shoulder, and I stopped to watch the Challenger launch. And I watched the Challenger blow up right there. And then I just was like distraught and shook my head and was sad and walked to that class at Lockett and got there right around when it started, around 10:38, 10:39, 10:40. So I pretty much took 10:30 classes. That was my first class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. first class Tuesday and Thursday when I was at LSU. And then I'd have like an afternoon class at 1:30 as my final class. So a few classes in the morning, 2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon on Monday, Wednesday, and I guess 2 classes on Tuesday, Thursday, 15 hours, get out in 4 years. That was the plan. Didn't work out that way, but that was the plan. Anyway, no, I was at Hatcher Dorm, so I know it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I know it was a little after 10:30 because I was going to my 10:30 class, and that wouldn't have been on a Tuesday or Thursday, and my first class was at 10:30, 10:40. So the Challenger had to have exploded a little after 10:30. Central Time, 9:30 Eastern, something like that. Wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Yeah, I was mentioning these mega yachts, like Arthur Blank's mega yacht worth hundreds of millions of dollars parked at the Batcher by the Butterfly. Shahid Khan, the Jags owner, the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, his mega yacht is parked by Oldenburg Park, by the aquarium downtown New Orleans. Just amazing, man. Your house, because you're so rich, your house that's worth, I don't know, what do you want to say a house like that would be worth? 10, 20, $30 million house on a boat that's very luxurious, that's very solid, that's incredibly built, one of a kind. It's not like, hey, go get the yacht from the yacht dealer. These are custom built, and they're hundreds of millions of dollars. So you've got a residence on that boat that's tens of millions of dollars minimum, just world-class, first-class, wealthy, rich, crazy, billionaire type stuff. No, like worth jumping in the car with the wife and the kids and saying, you want to go see a ridiculously big mega yacht? Because unless you've been to like Monaco or, down in Florida, Miami, and you haven't seen this type of stuff, San Diego. These are like first off, there's only like a few thousand of these type yachts in the world. Like only a few thousand. Arthur Blanks is parked at the Butterfly. Khan's is parked downtown. There might be a few more to come. What's unreal, they were down in the Caribbean, just parked down there. So Blank and Khan probably get on their private jet and fly to the Caribbean all the time. And they don't stay at a resort. They don't stay at a house they own down there. Maybe they do. They stay on this house that they move around via, it's a boat. It's a ship. It's a yacht. It's just incredible how the wealthy live. Off the chart. Off the chain. Mega yachts arriving in New Orleans ahead of the big game. Lakefront Airport by this time next week. G5 planes are going to be starting to land at the lakefront and are going to be parked there through the Super Bowl. By next Saturday, you go drive over the Seabrook Bridge next Saturday and look at Lakefront Airport. You're going to be blown away. You're never, ever going to see what you'll see is something you've never seen before. 700 plus G5 type jets, 50, 80, $100 million plus jets all over that airport, like 5, 6, 700 of them parked, wing to wing, tail to tail, all over the airport until these billionaires get to Lakefront Airport on, could be late Sunday night. Some of them are going to fly out midnight, 1 a.m. Sunday night. Let's go. Some are going to fly out on Monday. Some may wait till Tuesday, maybe later, enjoy the city for a few days. Who knows? They're wealthy. They're billionaires. They do whatever they want on their time, on their schedule, but they're all coming. I love the news about this tent that Jeff Landry has set up they call it the whale lot by the downtown Hilton, the one with the big whale painted mural on the wall. There's a huge climate controlled tent, gigantic first class tent. That tent set up and the duration it's going to be there, it's 6 figures. I promise you, it's 6 figures. And it's 6 figures ridiculously well spent. As good as it gets. Taxpayer dollars actually working for us. Jeff Landry and folks like Bill Hines and Michael Eck from Greater New Orleans, Inc., that's going to be a tent where they bring some big-time high roller types. They were talking about, what do they call the big 7 tech firms? The Super 7 or something? Meta, Google, Yahoo, the chip maker, all those companies. Their bigwig decision makers, CEO types are going to be there. Other Fortune 500 type businesses are going to be there. No, I just love this. It's about selling New Orleans, recruiting for New Orleans. And I hope Michael X, listening to one thing I said to him, Michael, hey, New Orleans in general, don't sell New Orleans like versus Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, Austin. Sell New Orleans as like the antithesis of that, the diametrically opposed of that, the opposite of that. You want, I guess you don't want to knock number 2 to get to number 1. But it would be more like, you want culture because those places don't have culture. You want history. You want real neighborhoods. You want incredibly engaging people. You want a great place to live, incredible weather, great lifestyle, food, music. You don't want the cul-de-sac neighborhoods. You don't want the traffic jams and the clutter. You don't want just the expansive suburban and exurb growth. You want something different. New Orleans is for you. We got the workforce. If not, we'll train them. We'll do whatever you want. Come to New Orleans. Your employees will be happy. You'll be happy. No, you got to sell it as you want Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, all these generic places that are all competing the same. And who gives the most incentives? I mean, it's where's the nice affluent generic neighborhood? Where's the cul-de-sac neighborhood? Where's the, where's the new stuff? Where's anywhere USA? That's what they're selling. And I get why it works. I get it. But there's got to be a percentage of the population that doesn't want to have anything to do with the explosive growth and the traffic and the fatigue and the time wasted living in these mega metropolitan areas. I just had Curtis Amann on the program last hour. Native Carolinian. We were co-hosts doing sports talk 30 plus years ago. After Katrina, he lived in D.C. for 8 years or so. Now he's in Denver. He's like, Denver. I mean, Curtis got to Denver like a decade ago. There were about 2 million in the metro. There are like 3 million in the metro now. It's grown by nearly 1 million folks in the metro area since he's been there like 12 years. He's saying it's starting to be a problem. Like it before, it was like, I forgot the term he used. What do you call it? Like cowboy town, just like now it's like a major mega city. It's got explosive growth and it continues. And it's hard to get around and there's lots of traffic and you have to deal with those mega city problems like you have to in Houston, Dallas, Atlanta. You don't want to get in the car and drive certain times of the day. People don't. And in the areas, they stay where they live. It kind of, the best way I can put it is like pretend Bourbon Street is the CBD, of New Orleans. The people that live in Mandeville like to go to work. LaPlace, Slidell, they don't come across the lake. West Bankers, they don't come across the bridge. They stay where they are and they have like, little mini high rises and office complex there. And that's where they stay and work. Barely ever get into the city. Like we barely go up and down Bourbon Street as locals. No, you got to sell these CEOs on we're different. We're the European masterpiece. We're not anywhere USA. We're the opposite of that. We're New Orleans. We're New Orleans. Corey Johnson with you.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralox is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehouse. Of our successful team, visit latrim.com. That's ITRAM.com.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, woodhousespas.com.
Tired of cleaning your gutters? Improve the value and look of your home with Leaf Guard gutters, and you'll never have to clean your gutters again. Guarantee it. Let Audubon Gutters install leaf guard gutters today. You'll improve the look and value of your home. And right now is the perfect time during Audubon Gutters' 99-cent installation sale. Call 469-6494 now. Get out of that gutter and get on the phone. Get Audubon Gutters.
Want to stay somewhere special when visiting? Look no further than the Grand Victorian. Located in the Garden District on the St. Charles Avenue streetcar line, the Grand Victorian is ideally placed for visiting the city's local attractions, fabulous restaurants, shops, and more. Make your stay in New Orleans something to remember. To find out more about the Grand Victorian or to book, go to gvbb.com. Jay and his father have been Smoothie King franchisees for decades on Jefferson Highway across from Oxnard, on Airline Highway at LeBar by Causeway. Smoothie King.
Have you been to the new Tracy's on Magazine? There's no better with literally dozens and dozens of flat screen TVs, including a 120-inch monster. Tracy's has everything you're looking for in a sports bar, including arguably the best roast beef po' boy in town. When it's time to check out your favorite teams, make it a Garden District.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on Magazine, as unique as you.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com. Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Total maintenance keeps you cool. TM-AC.com. Your spot.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce. Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your for over 125 years, New Orleans' own.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center is now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof, now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anyway. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette,
My Sittu, that's Arabic for grandmother, used to make the best football kibbe. You can experience kibbe just like my grandmother used to make, and so many other Middle Eastern favorites on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
1970 was an exciting time in New Orleans. The first Jazz Fest was held. Mood rings and pet rocks may have come and gone since the 70s. Helm Paint has grown to become your premier source for quality Benjamin Moore products, competitive pricing, and personal service. Please visit one of our locations today and we'll meet our competitors' prices on any identical product. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, let us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
Scott Craig of Katie's Restaurant.
All of my ingredients are fresh. Nothing comes out of a can here. Nothing. All of our seafood is Louisiana. All of our vegetables are Louisiana vegetables. It's a neighborhood restaurant.
Katie's in Mid-City.
Yeah, you right. Wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Corey Johnson back at you, 5 o'clock power hour. 11 days until Super Bowl 59 right here in the Crescent City. Our 11th at the in New Orleans, our 8th at the Dome. Pretty cool stuff. Doing what we do best. I don't know about you, but if I'm flying somewhere and like a plane crashes, I'm at the bar at the airport and I see a plane crashes at an airport in the United States. Hell, a plane could have crashed at the airport I'm at. I'm getting on the next plane and flying out. That's just me. How often do plane crashes happen? You have a better chance of getting in a car wreck and getting hurt than in a plane. So I'm going with the percentages. I'm going with reality. I mean, if it was every day planes crashing and there was some, terrorist attacks, maybe I wouldn't fly. But just arbitrarily, some plane crashes and a plane will crash next week, next month, next year. I hope it never happens again, but it will. I'm going to keep flying. I'm not worried about a terrorist attack in New Orleans for a second. It's not stopping me for a second from going down to the Quarter, Irene's, or Bayona to eat or something. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I'm not worried about going to the Maple Leaf on Oak Street or Tipitina's on Chop and Napoleon. I don't care. I'm not thinking about that for a second. It's not that I don't care, like I'm being crazy. You're running out in traffic on the interstate. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. It's not even like I'm not going to let the terrorists win. It's like the plane thing. What are the percentages of this happening again? This guy connected to ISIS. This guy was a total loser, this Jabbar guy from Houston. Everything came crashing down on him. Like stuff that happens to a lot of people in America, a lot of people in the world. And you get up and you move on. But he was a loser and he was depressed and he probably had some mental issues, obviously. And he went extreme. And he went towards ISIS. ISIS doesn't have this Jabbar guy and 12 other plants around the country just waiting to send them their marching orders and they're going to go drive a car down Bourbon Street. This idiot lived in Houston. He's like, where can I cause a lot of damage? Wow, New Year, New Orleans. A lot easier to get there from Houston than Vegas or New York. Where do they celebrate New Year? Boy, New Orleans, French Quarter, Bourbon Street. So this lone wolf, idiot, loser, deranged, depressed dork, all by himself went and did that. So I'm going to worry about ISIS has a bunch of plants in the country when they don't. And this guy wasn't part of it like that. No, I'm not worried about a terrorist attack like I'm not worried about a plane crash. And you shouldn't be either. Now, I know there are a lot of New Orleanians, metro area folks live in the suburbs, and I don't go to New Orleans anymore. We don't go to, well, that's sad, New Orleans, or I don't know. I'm a native New Orleanian. I don't go to Marie Laveau's grave at St. Louis Cemetery at 3 a.m. I don't go into the seedy neighborhoods and hang out at night and hope no one hurts me. I'm smart. When I'm in the Quarter, I'm looking around, and there's so many people around. It's pretty safe. Violent crime. New Orleans is one of the top cities in America in the decrease of violent crime. Way ahead of the national average for the decrease in violent crime. No, Jeff Landry with Troop N and Kirkpatrick NOPD now trying to get off the consent decree. A lot of positive things are happening. And let's not forget a major roundup of about 150, that clean sweep operation 90 days ago. where like 20 different law enforcement agencies from all over Metro, like St. John the Baptist Parish Police and JP, NOPD, all of it, FBI, 20 different law enforcement agencies. They rounded up and arrested 150 violent criminals. There are only about 400 or 500 violent criminals in Metro New Orleans. So arguably they rounded up about 30%, a third of them. That, coupled with the other things I mentioned, a major decrease in violent crime. What's that, Blue Boy? Super Bowl's 11 days away. What we do best, bring it on. You're right, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow right here, 4 o'clock.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 330. So on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WS.
It's 6 p.m.